So, I mentioned in the description of the last video that, or maybe it isn't the last video, it might be a different video, but the video where I talked about Manor 1 of Arknights Enfield. In the description of that, I mentioned that I wanted to make some content that will be a little different. Again, I'll repeat some of what I said in the description. I don't want to only make content that is revolving around video essays, so I'm going to be doing some random content here and there. Tier lists might be something I do here and there, and my main reason for not doing a regular standard tier list here is, one, it really wouldn't work for what I'm trying to do here, and two, I think some people might be kind of bored of like regular tier lists, so we spice it up by adding another axis. I'm sure that's very exciting. And yeah, generally speaking, I mean, we're gonna be doing Gachas for this. Maybe I'll do a tier list for something else sometime later. I don't know. I don't really have too much to say in this little preamble, besides the fact that some of these games might be a little hard to rank, because one, maybe I don't play them that often, or two, I might feel like a game might not appeal to anything. I don't know. I'll explain as I go. But yeah, I hope that you guys are gonna enjoy this. I think it'll be a little bit silly and enjoyable, so look forward to content like this. Maybe I'll do another one of these weird XY tier lists another time. I actually tried to find a website for this, but like I actually just could not find a website, so I just put an X and Y axis and like GIMP. So yeah, we'll see how this goes. I guess I should explain the axes before I the axes before I go any further. So one thing I want to say, none of these axes are like bad. Why don't we start with that? Maybe I should write that somewhere, but not implying any axis is bad. Well, we should just like red and this to like black. There you go. That'll be like a little forewarning PSA, that whatever, a PTA. Yeah, the y-axis, usually I feel like people, I know like maybe this is a bit odd to say, but like usually like people assume one axis is bad, so that's why I wanted to say that. But also, regardless of anything, no fan service versus fan servicey. I mean, that's fairly obvious. If a game is going to have fan service, then it'll be more towards the right, or versus if it doesn't have much, it'll be towards the left. I'll give a little warning ahead of time. As much as some of these games, their fans will say, oh, we don't have fan service, I don't think any game is going to be like fully over here towards the left arrow, because there are some skins in some of these games that I think people need to realize are somewhat fan servicey. So yeah. And this is the one that I think people are going to really have an issue with. Play versus the gameplay. So for the gameplay, it is literally just which one do you play the game more for. So if you play a game equally for its story and its gameplay, it'll just be smack in the middle, versus if you play more for the story, it'll be towards the top, and if it's more for the gameplay, you go towards the bottom. Again, I'm not saying that anything is bad here, so if I put a game more towards the story, it doesn't mean that the gameplay is like poop. It just means that you are probably playing it more for the story. And well, you know what? We'll go with an example of that. We'll start with this Fake Grind Order. Fake Grind Order, I don't think anyone is gonna argue that. Okay, well, we'll start with the easier axis. The game has fan service. How fan servicey? I mean, it's fairly fan servicey, I'd argue. I mean, I don't know, actually. It kind of does fan service for every possible crowd that you could want for the most part. The only thing they don't have is like old woman. They don't really have old woman. Like, I think there's like one of the Fate spin-offs, and there's like Baba Yaga is like a servant, and she's an old woman, but like, not in Fake Red Order, so it doesn't count for one. But yeah, generally speaking, every crowd has appeal to. I don't know if it'll be this far, because I think that there's some other games on here that you will really see why. Like, one game actually I think that you could put here that I didn't even include this on this list because I don't play it. Azure Lane probably will be like smack over here. Same with like Snowbreak, I think is what it is. Brown Dust, all those games, I think generally from what I've heard, they're all very fan servicey, so they'd probably be over here. Fate isn't that far. And I mean, I guess relativistically, I'm gonna not, yeah, I'm gonna let other games be there, even if it's not like Round Us, but like, I don't know. I still don't think I would say it's very fan service. It's probably more in the middle, because even a lot of people like a lot of the new Gacha fans will point out that like one of these games. Like, for example, like, people put it as easy to think that every character is fan servicey. I don't think that's true for, like, Fate, at the least. I don't agree with those people, by the way, regardless of anything, but, like, I don't think that's the case for Fate, because we have gotten a bunch of units that just don't really serve much for fan service. Like, for example, who is the fan that is being serviced by, like, I don't know, Ono no Komachi in the Valentine's event that came out, I think, like, last year in the Japanese version? Who's the fan that is being serviced there? There's not really much fan service there. It is a lady, a kimono with glasses. She's very pretty, but like, that's not, being pretty is not fan service. That's so yeah, I'd probably say it's fan service, and this is the thing that's a lot of people are going to disagree with. I know a lot of people will put it straight up here, and I think in its current state, you wouldn't really be entirely wrong. I'm going to put it a little lower than that, though. I think I'm going to put it, like, right there. Because I do think that the gameplay is fun for Fate. It's just that it's so dominated by farming and looping that it's not as good as it should be. A lot of people say it's really bad, and they're like, oh, it's terrible. If the game actually produced content to play that is not just 3-turn looping or 3-turn farming, then we probably would unironically have a more enjoyable time. The way that the game is right now, the only, like, how do I phrase this? If we had more grill fronts, which are focused more on like what low cooldown skills, units with single target units become a lot better in grill fronts. Units with really good survivability are extremely strong in grill fronts, and units who have a good MP spam, which I know that you might mention like, oh, so does it's the same case for 3-turn looping, but the batch of units that become good in 3-turn looping versus grill fronts is quite different. Like, for example, you would never use something like Superhuman Orion for farming, but in a grill front, he's probably one of the strongest units. And I think that's really what I'm trying to say here, is that the actual like variety of gameplay we have in Fate is actually that is the actual problem, not the gameplay. It's not the system. The modes we have are the problem. Even past that, I think one of the ideas I bounced around on Twitter was something like, oh, imagine if we like made like a game mode where it's like, oh, you have like 5 turns to dump damage into like a training dummy of some sort, and you get rewards based on like the amount of damage you pumped out. I know maybe that'll reward like whales a lot more, but I mean, like, my point is that there are systems that you could tweak. Like, you could tweak that to be more fair. There are ways for you to make the game less boring and unenjoyable for people. I also think that playing around more with like what you could use the grand system for is a good idea, because the grands are cool, but there's like really like what, like only like 2 pieces of content that we were able to use them on: the raids, the grand raids, and then like what, like the final chapter raids. It's a bit messy. I might shift things around later, but yeah, we'll start with that. We'll do Blue Archive next. Blue Archive is definitely more fan service than Fate. We'll start with that. I think again it's actually pretty similar to Fate. I don't think the gameplay is honestly. I think I enjoy the gameplay somewhat less than Fate for some reason or another. Maybe that's a weird take, because I don't know, but. Okay, well, we'll start with this. It's definitely towards the fan servicey end. I don't think it's the most fan servicey, but I think over here is fine. The question is, how much do you play for this? I think that it has to be less than Fate though, because again, a lot of people I know do play it for the gameplay because they like the system. I just think that the gameplay, like the story is, I think the story is really carrying it a lot more than people give it credit for. I think I'm gonna have to also shift this. I'm gonna shift this a little more because I'm looking at the next two games and I know those are way more fan servicey. The GFL, this is definitely fan servicey, and the story for GFL is like, I think it's fairly enjoyable. I'm not someone who played GFL 1, so I can't speak too much for that, but I enjoy the story quite a bit. And this is also kind of surprising. I think the gameplay is... I think that the skill descriptions are terrible in the game, but I think the actual base gameplay is like genuinely one of the more fun gameplays that a gacha game has, and it feels like they could have made just a complete game with this. Is it more fan servicey than Nikke? I think that's his main competition here. I think it is. And this is a weird thing. I think I'm going to put smack in the middle because I think for the most part you are playing Kana for both. We'll just put it over here. I think it's smack in the middle. Then it's Nikke. I don't know. Let me think. Actually, I don't know if I have any more to say. I think I've said everything I can about these two because, like, for the most part, like, the problem with Blue Archive is that they do have a lot of different modes, and that's to its benefit, but I think for the most part, you're not going to enjoy every mode. Like, I am alright with raids. I specifically like the Grand, I think it's the Grand Assault raids, the ones that you only need to do once, right? Technically. But I don't like joint fire and drills and stuff like that. And, I don't know, moving past it, like, I don't know, there's a lot of gameplay modes that are kind of iffy. Like, I don't like the main, what do you call it, like, the missions that you get, like the regular missions and the hard missions for like the materials. I don't really like those because I don't like the grid system all that much. But then the base combat is like fine to me, so I don't know. I can't really complain too much. Plus, their events have been getting more interesting as time goes on, so that's cool. GFL2, again, I think it's just fairly evenly split. It has good gameplay and good story, so like it doesn't really rely more heavily on one than the other. And fan servicey, hell yeah, it is fan servicey. They be putting like ASMR in the game. They be putting like toes in your face, but like it is fan servicey. Nikke. That's kind of funny that it probably could just be peeking over it. Nikke. You know, this is a hot take. I think that it's almost on the same level. I think it is on the same level of Fate for like play for the story or the gameplay, because I do not like the gameplay for this game, like almost whatsoever. I'm alright with team building. I hate manualing in this game because a lot of the enemies, you know, I put it like this: there's annoying enemies in every gacha game. Like Gregorius is not fun in Blue Archive. Some of the Gunsmoke bosses might be unfun. I don't know. And well, I don't actually know what enemy you're gonna say is annoying in Fate. The giant snake that MP seals, probably, I guess. This game has like so many enemies that are just so unfun to play against that is insane. There you have like the jellyfish that don't take damage unless it's elementally weak to the type. You have the things that like you need to basically beat only with machine guns because they take damage based on hit count over like anything else. Then you have like bosses like Mother Whale. You have so much enemies in this game that are designed so terribly or unfun that even if the base gameplay was already not that fun to me, the enemies take it over the edge. The only times I've really had a lot of fun with the gameplay are either with like one-shotting comps with like, was it like Snow White, Maxwell, and the new Snow White. Those are fun. But aside from that, like, I can't think of much that I enjoy for the gameplay here. It's just not very enjoyable. Team building, I guess, is pretty... I think team building is fun, but then I don't really actually play with the teams I build because the actual base game is just not enjoyable. The only reason I think that team building is fun because I'm talking about like team building when you're doing like the raids and you need to divide your team into multiple things with the same element and spread it out so that, you know, you have like proper teams and everything. That's fun, but even then, base gameplay is terrible. I'm gonna put it over here. I actually do genuinely have less fun. I mean, I was trying to be like objective about it, like with, oh, what was the greater audience think about these games? But I think I'm actually just veering into what I think. And if we're doing that, I think I'm gonna put this even lower because still not lower. I think I still do enjoy Little Archives gameplay a little more, but yeah, this is just terrible. I hate the gameplay for Nikke. Keeping on the topic of gameplay that I don't like, I used to not like Arknights gameplay a lot. I was just confused about like DP as a system. I got mad about it, and I was like, why? How do they expect you to deploy units? I keep losing. Then I got Myrtle and Bagpipe. I mean, I already have Myrtle, but like I started using Myrtle and Bagpipe because I got a Bagpipe with like the recruit system. I got lucky. Then I understood how the game worked at a base level. Sometimes I would take out the Wishadel, but then I stopped using the Wishadel too because I was like, I don't know, I just don't want to rely on that character. I think the only time I actually really used her was during like the Masses Travel event, like the Exo-Altar event, because I wanted to like, that was the first time I owned a copy of her, so I wanted to try it out. But ever since then, I have her in the lineup, but I don't actually ever field her. She's just there in case, like I'll break glass in case of emergency type of situation. Aside from that, I use a bunch of other units. Like I'm more willing to force Praminix into situations because I like Praminix than I am to use Wishadel. Regardless, yeah, I used to only really play for the story. It's moved on now. I do enjoy the gameplay a little more. I am not crazy about it, but I think it's about Blue Archive level. And in terms of fan service, I know like a lot of Arknights fans are like, there's no fan service. Man, there are a lot of fan service costumes with like skins though. Why are we acting like we don't have like fan servicey skins? We acting like swimsuit skins don't exist for the reason of more or less being fan service. You can try to say, oh, it's just a cute swimsuit, but dude, it's fan service. They're not adding it because they think it's cute. They're adding it because the fans are being serviced by it. I don't know who. I'm trying to think. From a sheer volume, it should be more towards here, but I don't think that's fair because I don't think that all of them are very fan servicey, and I think base versions of characters tend to not actually be that fan servicey. But it's not over here. It's still over here. Maybe put it in the middle. It's true neutral. I think we might. I think it might be true neutral for now. Probably a little bit above though. I don't think it's. Then we move on to Wuthering Ways. This game is definitely more fan servicey. And the story's fine, but I think this is the first time we're gonna veer towards more gameplay. Probably over here, right? I don't think that like the gameplay is very. There's definitely a lot of fan service. So why don't we start with that? Actually, a lot of the characters definitely have very fan servicey outfits at base, which is like the. It's like I was saying, like Arknights, a lot of the fan services in the skins, but for this, it's just the characters at base are pretty fan servicey. I think that the gameplay is generally what more people are playing for because the game is very action heavy. The problem is the reason why I'm not moving it too down is I do think the game, like the story, is not bad, but again, yeah, I don't know, probably like over here, right? The gameplay is good, and is doing a lot of work for it. The story is fine. It has the same story as a lot of the Hoyo games, where like I'll do Genshin and compare it so you guys can see. Genshin is less fan servicey, but it's still fan servicey. It's I don't think it crosses the Arknights border. It's more fan servicey than Arknights, and I think the story for Genshin kind of sucks. I think we're gonna make them stand side by side. You guys hate each other. You guys are being put in the get along shirt. Yeah. I don't really have too much to say about either of these. I think that both of their stories are very inconsistent, and their gameplay is really the main draw of why I play them, at least. Because I don't really like the story for either of them all that much. They're decent stories, but not amazing stories. Like, a lot of the reason why these four ended up in the situation that they're in is that their gameplays are not as good, but their stories are amazing. So like the difference is quite high. For GFL 2, it equals out, but like these ones, at least the story is just actually enjoyable for me to read. Whereas I don't really enjoy reading these too much. I legitimately will have to put in energy to sometimes consume the story. Sorrow is in a better spot. I think it's about the same as, I don't know actually, because I think just that Siren skin, the one that you had to do the spending event for, at base makes it more fan servicey than Genshin. I think I'll put it as the same as Wuthering, but I think it's a little better. I also think the story is really more why you're playing this than the gameplay. The gameplay has its faults, genuinely speaking, especially with nowadays with the way that the game has trended towards the gameplay becoming kind of worse because of power creep and introducing new paths. I think you're playing this more for the story. The gameplay's still fine. You're definitely playing more for the story, though. It's about the same level as Wuwa, though, for fan service. Fate is more fan servicey than both of these. Maybe I need to shift these like a little more to the left. Be more exact. I don't know why I ordered it like this. I think I just randomly... This is the order that GIMP gave it to me, and I just organized it based off of that. But we'll do ZZZ next. ZZZ is the one that's most far to the right out of the 4 gacha games of today. It is definitely more towards this end. And I think the gameplay is... I think it's like somewhere around here. I think the gameplay is doing more work. Because the story is fine, but not amazing. Maybe I should put like here. I enjoy the story more for ZZZ than I do for Genshin and... is that true? It's not as fan servicey as Blue Archive. I think I just put it like right here. I think Fate is more fan servicey. I think, is it? All the Valentine's event stuff, the like chapters for like Kama and Jalter. I'll do this. I'm gonna put Andy peeking over Wool like that. Why don't we do that? This is a bit hard to determine, I think, for me at least. So we'll do... Wow, this is what a mess of like the last 5. You know, I guess we'll do the one that does cross the Arknights border. This is definitely less fan servicey than anything present here. I still don't think a lot of Limbus fans say it as no fan service. I have to imagine that is because they are very young and they think that if, like, from their perspective, it's like, oh, they see like Nikke and they're like, oh, there's no one whacking their butt in their faces, so it's not fan service. I don't know. There are fan servicey, like, what are they called? Like the I'm so used to calling them alters in other games, but like the different versions of the characters. And remind you, I'm not like a super big Limbus like fan, because I think the gameplay is seriously unenjoyable. But I don't know. I don't think that it's the lacking fan service. There's like outfits that are very clearly. I mean, you might argue like, oh, that's just how the character's outfit looks, but like again, characters' outfits are key parts of fan service, and they definitely do have fan service. I don't think it's as much as anything here, but let's not act like you don't have fan service. I think it is very cringe to act like you don't have any fan service in your game and act like that's an amazing thing when it's not true, for one, and two, who cares if there's fan service? I'm gonna put it here. I do sincerely think it is the game that I enjoyed the least in terms of gameplay. Like, I just did not enjoy it. The tutorials were bad. I got bored very quickly. The only reason why I was playing it was more or less because I liked the characters. Yeah, there you go. The most high up I could do. We'll do Enfield next. Enfield is more fan servicing, but as a result, I think more people are playing it for the gameplay. I think more neutrally, it's probably at the same level as like Sorrow. It's not as fan servicey yet, so I think that putting it there is fine. If the story is just not as good as our base Arknights right now, I should probably move this a little up. But yeah, I don't think that the story is as good as Arknights. I think I'm still interested, mainly because it's connection to base Arknights, so it's living off of Arknights ranking a little bit. It is definitely more fan servicey. I think the gameplay is relatively enjoyable. Both the factory system and the combat is fine. I think that the combat realistically, what they need to do is add more vanguards, but like aside from that, I think it's fine. I really like playing as both Levitane and Pogranich, but oh my god, Pogranichnik, I think is how it is. I think that's how it's pronounced. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know, but yeah, it's not crossing over completely because I am interested in the story. That's crazy, I know, because I know the story is not as good. Maybe I should actually downgrade it a bit here. Genshin fans are going to probably lose their mind about this. I just think that, one, the gameplay for Genshin is actually fairly enjoyable. The same with what I feel like I'm really only playing it for the gameplay right now. Whereas the story for both of them is kind of dragging and not enjoyable to me. Well, I can't say the same for Wu. They just started a patch cycle. I guess I shouldn't say that for them. But regardless, their inconsistencies in story make me sick. Granblue, you know, I can't exactly speak. Actually, no. The game is like fairly fanservice in the same way Fate is, but I think it is just purely a story game. I don't know who is playing this game for like the gameplay when the gameplay is not that enjoyable. It looks old. It is old. Like, I don't know. It's not enjoyable. The gameplay is not that enjoyable. At least to me, it was not that enjoyable. There is fan service for everyone, though. Again, it's similar to Fate in that regard. Or maybe I'll do Uma last. We'll do Celisora next. Celisora is, the characters are less like visually fan servicey than the others, but it's more fan servicey in the fact that they're more like they're sticking closer to like anime tropes that people are very comfortable with. So that is fan servicey by that nature. On top of that, I mean, it definitely does feel more like to some degree the game. At least I haven't played too much of the story, so I can't speak. Based off of the way that people speak about the game, it seems more like a fan servicey game, or like more like a harem-ish game. I don't think it's as bad as any of these games. It's probably like it's a little safer than Blue Archive, because Blue Archive got some wild things. I don't know how the gameplay is. I'm gonna put it here, because I think that generally the gameplay was pretty enjoyable. And then Uma. Okay. Maybe this is a hot take, because I think a lot of people really enjoy the gameplay for Uma. But the problem is, for me, well, maybe I should start with fan service. Again, there are a lot of people who keep saying there's no fan service. That's stupid. There are a bunch of Umos that be fawning over the trainer. There be a bunch of Umos that be in like outfits that kind of are fan servicey. Why are we acting like that? It is more likely that it's around the same level as like Enfield, I think, and Genshin. And again, I do want to say, I think that maybe it's fine if you enjoy the tournament. I don't like doing a career every day for dailies. And that makes me mad because I've actually started playing the Japanese version where you get to just auto it. The English version of this, in its current state, I do not play this at all for the gameplay. So it's probably like over here. That is my X and Y tier list of fan service versus not fan service, with playing for the story versus playing for the gameplay. Again, if you're towards play for the gameplay, that does not mean that your story is bad. And if you're towards play for the story, that doesn't mean your gameplay is bad. Maybe for some of these, I do kind of feel like that is the case. Like, I think for Nikke and Granblue Fantasy, I genuinely just do not like the gameplay at all. But, like, Arknights, Blue Archive, and, like, Fate, I don't think the gameplay is... I don't think it's that bad, relativistically speaking. But, yeah, this is the tier list, so there's no insults being thrown here. Don't get mad. There's probably going to be some people who try to argue about, like, whether or not something is fan servicey. I think Arknights might be the biggest, like, base arguments would be, like, an actual debate whether or not it should be shifted one way or the other. I refuse to believe that you can't say that it has no fan service because the skins there's a lot of skins that are pretty fan servicey in that, man. But yeah, that's it. I don't have too much comments. It's not my problem. As Coney says, it's not my problem anymore. It's everyone else's problem. It is not the internet's problem with this tier list. I do not care. If you want to talk to me in the comments about it, and you were being polite about it, yeah, sure, I'll respond. That's about it, though. See you guys in the next one. Peace.